Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And in this video we're going to be doing the EX fight for the latest character event for Lenna, a devoted heart. Now first of all, a warning to you guys, this is by far the hardest EX that we have ever received. And boy, it took me a while to get to that 44,000 points and I just barely made it. And I know there's a couple of videos floating out there already showing you guys how to, I suppose, beat this fight, showing you guys how to do it, but not exactly saying anything. So I thought for my last video, you know, for this month until I come back next month, I made the time to actually record and kept on playing. I would have done the lost chapter, like No God Size challenge on those lost chapters, but I felt like this is a lot harder than any of those lost chapters, and so that's the whole reason why I'm making this video. So as you guys can see, I actually don't have Saz in this video, but I am using all the boosted characters. Now, I didn't get the chance to actually show you guys in the beginning because, man, I have been on this for the past 3 days. So, sometimes I forget to record and, you know. Anyway, I'll let you guys know the stats for my team. So, for my Lenna is max limit broken, both the 15 and 35 CP, which I kind of regret. You actually just need her 35 CP, you know, don't need to max her out that much. And as for artifact passive, she doesn't really have any good ones that I can really mention. Nothing outstanding. And of course, max limit broken armor. As for Ramza, max limit break 15 CP, and no limit break on the 35 CP sword, max armor. Again, no artifact passives that I can really tell you guys that are really good. And King is max 15 CP and no limit break on the 35 CP weapon, max armor, and again, nothing to write home about artifact passives. Now the reason why I'm actually telling you guys all this is because of the fact that this is one of the hardest EX fight that I have ever done. And so I know some of you are gonna be asking in the comments, you know, what was your team like? What was the gear, your artifacts and stuff? So I thought I'd just do that here and get it out of the way. And I'll let you guys in on how much gems I spent to pull for this banner, which I actually didn't want to pull anything. So I spent about 35,000 gems, about nearly 80 tickets to get all the 35 CP. Honestly, my last ticket was Ramza's sword 35 CP, and I jumped for joy. Anyway, this is getting a little bit too long, so let's start off this video with the Savage Drake's weakness and resistances. So it's weak to ice and water elements and resistant to thunder elements. For its abilities, it has access to Bio, which is a brave magic attack, and it also inflicts poison. Obviously this becomes Bioga from level 65 onwards. It has Tail Hammer, which is a melee HP attack, Miserable Fog, which is a brave magic attack which inflicts attack down, speed down, and poison. And it also has Thunder Breath, which is a group Thunder brave magic attack. It also has a low chance of inflicting paralysis. And of course it has Charge, which increases its brave based on his initial brave and grants himself a defense up, and he will use Poisonic Ray on his next turn. Poisonic Ray is a 9-hit group brave magic attack plus HP attack, and each brave attack hits randomly as well. This inflicts attack down and poison the targets on hit and has a low turn rate. As for the next one, it has access to a supercharge which increases his brave based on his initial brave. This also grants him a defense up, and you know he will use Wild Rage on his next turn. Wild Rage is a 4-hit melee brave attack plus HP attack, and each brave attack hits randomly. It also inflicts attack down and poisons the targets that are hit, and this also has a low turn rate. And something that I haven't been doing, which I should have been from the start, is actually telling you guys the resistances for the bosses in terms of debuffs. The Savage Drake actually has a low resistance to initial Brave Down, but has a high resistance against Max Brave Down and Poison. And now let's take a look at some general tips and guides for you guys. And as always, the first one is to save about 90% of your abilities on the boss. Now, I really want to emphasize that 90%, because you're going to be using some of your abilities on the third wave or even the early phases, but you need to have about 90% of your abilities on the boss. I just want to really emphasize that, because the boss has a ton of HP and a very strong defense as well. The next tip for you guys is obviously to bring in the boosted characters such as Lenna, King, and Ramza, and other characters you may consider. And yes, I only put 2 characters here, which is Sephiroth and the God Saz. And this is if you're aiming for that 44k score. If you're not aiming for that and you just want to clear, there are a various amounts of characters that you can bring. Papa Limo can take advantage of the ice weakness, and so on and so forth. I don't really want to list all of them because you take advantage of the weakness. You just need to know what element of your characters are. For support, it may differ depending on your style or your strat, but you can bring any of the characters that I mentioned, and the only other one that comes to mind is Quistis. And this is for the race DPS check basically, and Quistis can delay the dragon further, and you know, by that time hopefully you're about to kill it. As for the summon, you can definitely bring Ifrit, Leviathan, and Shiva, but if you're aiming for the 44,000 score, I think Ifrit is the better choice. Now for my next tip is regarding Lenna. So if you are using Lenna, which you should, to be honest, makes things a lot easier, make sure you check everyone's Windrake buff. This is the buff that she gives on her 35 CP weapon. Basically, this makes it a party-wide buff. This makes sure that you don't, well, about 90% of the time that you don't get debuffed. There are a lot of faster characters than Lenna, so this is just to make sure that their buff is topped up. Characters that come to mind that has a high turn rate are King and Saz. So just make sure that you are looking into that. Now the next tip is regarding the turn order for the Savage Drake. I do believe I have mentioned this before in the abilities, and this is regarding charge going to Psionic Ray. So when you see him use charge, it will always be Psionic Ray next. Supercharge will always go to Wild Rage, and if you just happen to see the all attack or attack when he's targeting everyone without any charge or supercharge, this will be Thunder Breath. So you have to be careful and make sure that you have that Windrake buff that Lenna gives. Now for the last tip that I have for you guys is do not be afraid to be broken, and use your HP attacks as often as you can. You don't really want to overflow any of that brave, and you can always just break him back. Now this is easier said than done, especially if you don't have a very strong DPS characters. And this is the reason why I'm actually doing a new segment for my EX fights, and this will revolve around the party compositions. And these are not the end-all be-all party compositions, but these are just examples that you can use and hopefully have success on. And I will start doing this. So for the first team I have on this list is Lenna, King, and Ramza, which are all the boosted characters. Now obviously the pros for having Lenna, King, and Ramza is basically having 50% more stats. And by the way guys, I am gonna do a quick pros and cons with these teams that I have mentioned, or I will mention. And as for the support, I do recommend King being the first one that you bring, because he does have a very good DPS in this fight. Saz is there for the extra oomph if you really want him. Quistis is for the delay, so you can do a lot more damage, but not totally super recommended in this team up. Sephiroth is there as well. Again, not totally the best choice for support, but it can definitely work. As for the summon, Ifrit is the choice, and for the sole reason of getting that 20% extra attack. And before I forget, the biggest con for this team is obviously you're gonna have to pull for the banner. You're gonna need Lenna's 35, King's 35, and Ramza's 35 CP weapon as well. And possibly having the 15 CP limit broken for all three of them is quite essential and makes it a lot easier for you to finish the fight. So you're gonna have to have a lot of gems if you want this particular team, which I had which I used, and I lost a lot, as you guys know. For the next team is the Sephiroth King Lenna combination. Now this combination I kind of like, and I actually beat this boss with this one multiple times. It's just I never got to the 44,000 points. I got to 41, and that's the closest I got, and that is with a King support. You can also bring a Sephiroth support as well. It can work. As for the summon, Ifrit or Leviathan for this one, Leviathan is great, especially when it comes to Sephiroth. For the most part, when Poisonic Ray hits, Sephiroth's HP will drop down below 50%, therefore giving him a max Brave regen bonus from Leviathan. Now I do believe this only works once, so you have 12 turns with extra Brave battery coming at you. So this works for both King and Lenna as well, but obviously they do have to drop their HP below 50%. And yeah, as for the con, it's kind of hard to pull this off, but you do have to have a max limit broken Sephiroth, which is probably the biggest con of this all if you weren't lucky with that. And again, with King and Lenna, you do have to have their 35 CP weapon. I'm seeing a trend here where the con is mainly getting the weapon, so I don't know how this section will go in the future, but for now that's all I can think of. The next team I have is the Sephiroth King and Saz. Now this does not have Lenna, so the support is Quistis with an Ifrit summon. Now the pros for this team is the huge DPS that you will get. The con basically is you don't have Lenna, so you will get debuffed. So you just have to make sure you use Ifrit at a time where it will start charging. So when you see it's targeting itself, that is the best time to use Ifrit. And basically you pour down everything you have when that happens. And you can also bring out Quistis after the summon in order to push back the boss's turn rate. And I do believe the best one to swap out is Saz, and that is after Saz has obviously buffed up Sephiroth and King. and that's basically what you will have to do in order to pull this off. Now I have actually seen a video of someone actually doing this. This was partly in my mind when I was going to try it out, but so far I didn't have any success with it. For some reason I was just getting broken too much, and you know, it was pretty depressing. So, but I have seen a video that someone actually pulled this off, because part of my mind was actually doing a delay team, which I actually used Setzer for one try, and Quistis support as well. And it was the funniest thing. Setzer was just doing like 1 damage. My Setzer isn't that great, but I thought I'd try it out. For the last team composition I am suggesting is the King, Saz, and Lenna combination. This combination is just like the same thing as the second one without Sephiroth. So what you're getting is the extra Saz, and with this support you have King or Saz as well, and you can definitely use Ifrit or Leviathan. The only reason why Leviathan is there is basically for that extra brave, but I believe Ifrit will work the best here. It's just a ton more DPS since you are bringing Saz here, but that is an option for you guys. And that is it for the party composition suggestions, and now it's time for my final thoughts. Alright, so my final thoughts for this fight. And like I said, this is the hardest EX that we've done, and essentially this was supposed to be something that has or was released post some of the level 60 awakening. So it is a lot harder, guys, and I suggest if you don't have the gems to pull for these boosted characters, I suggest that you just skip this one altogether. Getting that 44,000 points is not an easy feat. The best team that you can probably hope for is the third set that I mentioned, which is the Sephiroth, King, and Saz with a Quistis support. This is a little bit more realistic if you don't have gems, or if you have pulled for the Sephiroth and basically don't have any gems left. This is probably the closest thing you're gonna get, and you still need King's 35 CP weapon as well, because that reload, that extra reload that you get, is very quintessential in that strategy. So and if you don't have Saz, again, this team doesn't work for you. It's really hard to pull off. So if you don't have any of the boosted characters 35 CP, then this is gonna be a lot harder than you would think. As for just clearing this, it's definitely up there in the difficulty, and I think it is on the top tier of difficulty, even just trying to clear this, and that's not getting that 44,000 points. It's just literally clearing it. When I first cleared this, I did get all the rewards, sorry, all the mission rewards, but I didn't get enough points to actually sort of get the clear, so it wasn't complete. So, and that's with getting all the missions, and I'm just like, that doesn't make sense. I cleared all the missions, but I didn't get enough score to actually get the minimum score requirement, and that just scratches my head how the point system works. And so yeah, I think that's basically my final thoughts. This is definitely difficult. If you guys found a way to make this easier, or if you guys found a team composition that I haven't mentioned and you had success with, even if you don't get the 44,000 points, I'd like you guys to leave it down in the comments below and let the DFFO community know, because this is one of the hardest fights ever. And I think that's it for this video. We're reaching the 20 minute mark, and this is the longest EX stuff, you know, that I have done. And I think in the future videos it's gonna be around this range, 15 to 20 minutes, because of the new party suggestions. Anyway guys, I think that's it for this video. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I want to hear you guys' opinion on this fight. Leave it down in the comments below, and make sure to follow me on Twitter, and that's where you're gonna catch me in the next month. And this is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys next month.